Hello and welcome to another Tunisian crochet tutorial. Today we will be making together this little coaster motif, so I call it the Lovely Hat coaster. At the moment this pattern is going to be exclusive to YouTube, and once I finish up my other work on my blog, then I'll be able to write up the pattern for you as well. So this is based on the Michelka blanket motifs, and I've also used it for my sweetheart placemat. So the sweetheart placemat is already on the blog, so if you would like to make this, you can find the pattern. I will link it down in the description box. And if you feel just like making something small and quick that you can make within an hour, then I'll definitely recommend this one. And this would be the basic version, and soon I'm going to also make video on the little bit more advanced. We've got more of the color work included, so watch the space. So for the coaster you will need Scheepjes Stone Washed. I used it in two colors, so this is Tourmaline and Rose Quartz. The recommended hook for this yarn is 3.5 millimeters. However, I used 4.5 millimeter Tunisian crochet hook, or if you've got a smooth crochet hook, you don't even need to get a special Tunisian crochet hook, because you will be able to fit all your loops on the length of the standard crochet hook. And of course you will need scissors. If you like to block your project as I do, then you will also need blocking mat and some pins. So without further ado, let's dive in. The square is 25 stitches by 21 rows. If you would like to make a slightly smaller version without this large sections of tourmaline on the sides, and the adjustment would be made by taking off 2 stitches when you make a smaller version, because you will need to take off 1 stitch on the right and on the left to make it symmetrical, and the same is for rows. If you would like to make the border smaller on the top and bottom, then you will need to take of 2 rows, 1 at the bottom and 1 on the top. Now we are going to make the basic version, which is 25 by 21. We are going to take the tourmaline color, wrap it around your fingers and make a slip knot, and we will chain 25. We chain by yarning over and pulling through the loop on the hook, so that counts as a chain 1, 2, 3, 4, and so on. So I'm going to chain 25. I'll let you chain 25, and I'll meet you at the end for the beginning of row number 1, which is the foundation row in Tunisian crochet. Chain 25. We will then turn our chain around, and we are going to be working into these little bumps at the back of the chains, and we are going to do it by inserting the hook from front to back, yarning over and pulling up a loop, and that loop counts as a stitch, so each loop corresponds to 1 stitch. So at the end of this forward pass you should have 25 of these loops on your hook. So we're going to keep on going, working through the back bumps all the way, and I'll meet you at the end when we have 25 loops on our hook. I'm now at the end of my forward pass for the foundation row in Tunisian crochet. As you can see, all your loops fit neatly on the standard size of crochet hook, or I've got Tunisian crochet hook but without the extension. So this was forward pass where we added the loops on the hook, we added the stitches on the hook. Now we are going to work them off until we have 1 left at the end, and that is known as the return pass. So for the whole of the project we will work the standard return pass, which is you yarn over and pull through one. So this is your chain one, and then yarn over, pull through two, and you keep on repeating yarn over, pull through two. So I'll let you to do that all the way, and I'll meet you back for row number 2. So we have our chain, we have our foundation row, and now we will start, or we will continue with row number 2, and we will work Tunisian Simple Stitch for this row and throughout the project. So Tunisian Simple Stitch is worked by inserting the hook from right to left under the front vertical bar, yarn over and pull up a loop. And we will do that for every stitch in the row below. Every front vertical bar will be worked into as a Tunisian Simple Stitch. So you will continue working, you will have again 25 loops on your hook, and I'll meet you back before we do the last stitch, which is slightly different. Welcome back. I'm now at the end of my forward pass for row number 2. I'm on the last stitch. So here we are not going to work into just the front bar, but we are going to work into the front and the back bar. So you can, if it's easy, you can turn the work around so you are facing the edge of the work, edge of your project. You insert your hook under both of the strands of yarn, yarn over and pull up a loop. And now we will continue with standard return pass again. So work your standard return pass, which is first yarn over, pull through one, and then yarn over, pull through two, all the way through the row until you have one loop left on your hook. Welcome back on row number 3. So for row number 3, 4 and 5, which is this small section here, before we start the heart, you will continue working Tunisian Simple Stitch across the row. So it's essentially the repetition of row number 2 in the Tourmaline color, or whichever color you choose as your base color. Okay, so I'm going to work rows 3, 4 and 5, and I'll meet you back on row number 6, where we will introduce the next color and start forming our heart. Welcome back. Done my rows 3, 4 and 5 now, so we are going to start row number 6. So for row number 6 we will have 12 stitches in Tourmaline on the right, then we will add our Rose Quartz, and then we will have 12 stitches on the left hand side. So now when we count stitches, we need to be a little bit careful, because the first loop, which is already on the hook, is the first stitch, even though we don't work it, because it's the yarn over, pull through two from the previous return pass. So we in fact actually going to work 11 stitches, and with the edge stitch that will be 12 in total. Okay, I just wanted to point it out, just not to get tangled in the stitch count. So I've got the one here already, so I need to work 11 more. So that's 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10 and 11. So we've got 12 loops now. 2, 4, 6, 8, 10, 12. Now we're going to add our Rose Quartz. So what I like to do, if you watch my tutorials, you would know I don't like to make another slip knot with a knot, because that is going to introduce bulk to the project. So what I like to do, I just like to make a small loop and hold it with my fingers. I'm going to go into the next stitch. As for the Tunisian Simple Stitch, we'll place the loop on the hook and pull through. Okay, now this is going to be just one stitch for this row, and then we are going to take the Tourmaline at the back of the project, cross it over. When you work color work in Tunisian crochet, you need to make sure that you cross over your strands of yarn when you are changing colors, otherwise you will introduce gaps in your project that will be visible. So it's essential that you cross over. You don't have to tighten up too much, otherwise the stitches are going to be uneven within a row, and you can even pocket the fabric. Just nice tight, but not pull on it too hard. And then we work another 11 stitches and then an end stitch. So we basically added the stitch into the center of the project to make it symmetrical, so the heart will now be growing on both sides and will sit nicely at the center of the motif. So we've got 1, 2 stitches, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, and then an end stitch and standard return pass. So as before, we work standard return pass to the stitch where we have when we introduce the new color, and then we will need to yarn over, pull through two with the new color before changing back to the base color. Okay, so we worked only one stitch, so we will do yarn over, pull through two only one time, and then continue with your return pass. So I'm going to show you the next row number 7. So we will again, so at this on the row number 7 we will start adding the stitches. So we first had 1 for row number 6 in Rose Quartz. For row number 7 we will have 3. For row number 8 we will have 5, and so on until we have 13 stitches across. So this will be the widest part of the hat, and we will have 3 rows with the 13 stitches in Rose Quartz, and then we start decreasing the number of stitches. So now we are going to work on this bit where we are increasing the number of stitches in Rose Quartz on the right and on the left to shape the hat. So we are going to work in Tourmaline or in color A if you choose a different colors, all the way to one stitch before the Rose Quartz where I'm now going to drop the Tourmaline, pick the Rose Quartz and work this stitch in Rose Quartz, then the center, and then one more. So when I work these hearts, I really just want to carry the Tourmaline across 3 stitches, because once you start carrying it over more, the floats just get a bit messy. And then on the following row I will show you how to add the color on the other side, so you will end up with your wrong side of your project really neat. For example, when I worked on the placemat that I'm showing you right now, you can see that the floats at the back are very minimal. Okay, so I'm going to go back to the color A, to the Tourmaline, and work the rest of my row. Also, because when you work Tunisian crochet, you will have 2 floats per row. You will have the float that you create on the forward pass and then on the return pass, and this will add to the bulk of your project. So for example, in this hat, when I was making the sample, I actually carried the floats, so this center part of the project is a bit raised because it basically has another layer of yarn behind it, while the rest looks visibly thinner. So if you don't mind the kind of look, it's up to you. However, if you would like your project to sit nice and flat without that raised texture, then I will show you how to basically work the motif without your floats at the back of your project. So we will continue with return pass until we get to the part where we need to change color. We're going to change color because we had 3 rows. Because we had 3 stitches for this row, we are going to do yarn over, pull through 2 3 times, and then we are going to go back to our Tourmaline and finish up your row, and I'll meet you back on the next row. Come back. So I am now on row number 8. I'm going to show you how to add the color again on the other side of the hat pattern. So for this row we will have 5 stitches in Rose Quartz, so I need to change the colors to be able to add now 1 stitch on left and 1 stitch on right. Work Tunisian Simple Stitch, 3 more stitches over, and 1 extra stitch to shape the hat. So now what we are going to do, you can either use another ball of yarn, that's what I'm going to do, or if you are using the same ball, you can use one end from the inside and one end from the outside. And we will add the color the same way we added the color when we introduced Rose Quartz. So we are going to just make a loop, go into the next stitch as for Tunisian Simple, put the loop on the hook, pull through, and that's it. And now we are not going to change to Rose Quartz, but I suggest that you take the working end of the yarn and wrap it around the short end of the Tourmaline and the pink to lock the color in place. So you will have you will basically cross over both of the strands at the back just to lock it in a place again, not to have gaps in your project. And then you are going to work Tunisian Simple Stitch all the way, and we will do the same on the return pass. So we will start our return pass and then work across until you get to the part where you need to change the color. We'll change the color, work 5 yarn over, pull through 2 in Rose Quartz, and then you change the color again to the other end of your ball or to the other ball of yarn. So you are basically working your left and right side of the project on both sides of the hat from different ball of yarn or from the same ball of yarn but from different sides. So what we are going to do now, you will be then adding 1 stitch on right and 1 stitch on left per each row until you have 13 stitches across. Okay, then you will work the 13 stitches even for 3 rows. So we've got 1, 2, 3 rows of working 13 stitches in Rose Quartz, and 1, 2, 3, 4, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 stitches in Tourmaline on either side. And then I will meet you back at the end of the 3rd row where you work 13 stitches in Rose Quartz. Welcome back. We are now 14 rows into the project, so we are going to now work on the part where we narrow our hat. So we will work Tunisian Simple Stitch in Tourmaline for the next 6 stitches. So we will work over the first stitch in Rose Quartz, then we change to Rose Quartz, work 5 stitches in Rose Quartz, 2, 3, 4 and 5. Then we have 1 in Tourmaline. So what I like to do for this one, I do like to cross the hat, otherwise I will have to introduce another ball of yarn just for that 1 stitch. So we will just work 1 stitch, then go back to Rose Quartz, work 5 more stitches in Rose Quartz, 1, 2, 3, 4 and 5, and then change to Tourmaline, which was attached on the other side of your project. And continue working to the end of the row and work return pass. It was row 15, now on to row 16. What you can do with these floats, once you bind off the rose quartz, you can actually work over this while you are weaving in your ends, so you will basically eliminate the float. If you want to hide it completely, you can work vertically over it. For the row number 16, you are going to work one extra stitch in tourmaline, like so. Then you will change to rose quartz and work only 3 stitches in rose quartz. Again, you will use the tourmaline, but this time to work 3 stitches. 1, 2, 3. Pick up rose quartz, work 3 stitches in rose quartz, and back to tourmaline on the other side. Okay, and working standard return pass. Finished my row number 16. So at this point you can cut off the rose quartz and the tourmaline that you attached on the left side of your project. So I can cut them off, weave in your ends later, and you will just continue using the strand that is attached to the beginning of your project, and you will work another 5 rows in tourmaline. So, and then you will work the top 5 rows in tourmaline, and I'll meet you at the end where I'll show you how to bind off your project. Welcome back. So we've got now 5 more rows in tourmaline on the top of our project. We are now on the last step, which is bind off. So we will do Tunisian Simple Stitch bind off just to match the rest of the project. So we will go into the next stitch. As for Tunisian Simple Stitch, yarn over, pull up a loop. We'll also pull the loop through the one on the hook. So into the next one and next one. So you will always only carry 1 loop forward. So again, as for we insert the hook as for Tunisian Simple Stitch, yarn over, pull up a loop, pull through the loop on the hook. We will work this across the row, including the end stitch. Once you work the end, once you bind off the end stitch as well, you can then cut your yarn, weave in your ends, block your project, and that's it. You have your lovely hat coaster ready. So watch the space for part 2, where we're going to look at the hat that is a little bit more complicated in terms of the color work. But I hope that you enjoyed this tutorial. As always, please like, share, and I'll see you next time. Bye bye.